Hi, these are stubs. I'm not going to do a lot on them. One of them I've already... Actually, both of these I've covered in one form or another. I'm going to try to make this short. Operation Fishbowl, Operation High Jump, Argentine Antarctica Permanent Occupation, the Little America Exploration Base, the talk page for Operation High Jump Conspiracy Theory, the Hopi, Frank Waters, the Blue Star Kachina, 2012 hoax, and the fact that the Hopi have a website you can look up. They may even have a posse. That's a joke in Portland about a certain local Andre the Giant. Anyway, here we go. Here we go. Again, the Blue Star Kachina Prophecy by Frank Waters, Bob Frissell, and Chief Whitefeather. Maybe. And associated maybe with a 2003 book called Something in This Book is True. I doubt the title. An old Indian chief told someone about the first sign. The book was done in 2003, and Chief Whitefeather, an old Indian chief, told me this story. Now that doesn't sound absolutely bombastically racist by people's standards these days, but let's just go for it, okay? Like Pana, but not like Pana. And who took the land and was not theirs in the 1950s. Ooh, ancient archaic story. Yes, we're doing an appeal to ancient wisdom from 1950. Then there's Benjamin Lee Whorf, who may or may not be involved in the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. The Hopi language lacks a concept of time. There are no words and grammatical forms or constructions or expressions that refer directly to what we call time. Kind of a bad characteristic for a group of people who have to be aware of the seasons and make sure they don't drop dead from planting and harvesting at the wrong times. Kind of sounds like something that would be a lie. I've covered this subject a couple of times. Someone wanted to make a book in the 2003 and appeal to ancient wisdom in the 1950s. Oh, I talked to an ancient Indian spirit. That's not going to fly. Well, I talked to an old Indian. You talk to somebody, all right? Chief Whitefeather. Chief Whitefeather. The worldwideweb.hopi-nsn.gov. You can email the Hopi tribe itself and ask them straight up, is the story of Chief Whitefeather and the Blue Star Kachina a lie about your culture and belief system? And then include ... You have to say it's a lie, or you have to say it's completely true. And you also have to include, please stop not responding to this. You're being exploited. We'll see if they email me back. If you do not shoot down an assertion about your group, you're encouraging people to believe the assertion that's wrong. Just saying. The Hopi may have too much dignity to respond to such statements, or even requests that I've made. Maybe I'm added to their hate list, I don't know. But the longer you ignore this crap, the more money people make off of it. Now remember, this is a story that goes back a long... And the thing is, I've done videos on previous channels about this. This comes up every few years. Every few months, actually. Because people... Well, we're super spiritual, and we believe in spirituality. We're not religious fanatics or part of a cult or anything. Tee-hee, join us. And then they'll invoke a bizarre array of Middle Eastern religion, which they don't even know what that really means, and they're talking about people from India, and Native American belief systems, and they'll mix and match it because they want to, do a roll-your-own religion, which is fine. And then they yell at you for appropriating other people's culture while they're dressed up like a Sikh, not knowing that that's not what they're talking about. I know about 4 people, actually it's a lot more than that, but 4 people I'm willing to state that I got to know well, who are Sikhs. And that's a stereotypical image that is shown in some movies, and it's kind of derogatory almost. And then there's one who's an actual Sikh who's been in a bunch of movies, and he really is getting tired of being accused of being an Arab terrorist. I mean, I'm not an Arab, I'm a Sikh. What a horrible thing to get confused with. Anyway, to be blunt about it, this is a myth maybe created by Bob Frissell, Frank Waters, and a fake, non-existent Chief Whitefeather at about a Blue Star Kachina prophecy. And the people who keep repeating it aren't willing to acknowledge that this is I'm going to say it as morally bankrupt way as I can. This is white men telling stories about Indian chiefs. If you're over the age of 40, you already know why you're not supposed to do this. This is really insulting. I think I've done 3 or 4 videos on this. I mean, really, seriously, it keeps coming up. And the thing is, the more it's like squeezing on a balloon. It just pops up at another end. Now we get on to the next mythos, coinkadinkly in the 1940s. Lots of videos up about this, because people make this assertion because they're pushing some sort of agenda, because they won't acknowledge that they're just simply saying something that's preposterous. Why is Antarctica under military occupation? And then when you point out it's not, because it isn't, because 170,000 tourists go through Antarctica per year. It's not under military occupation. There's a, quote, occupation force from one country that requires that they have, I think, a gun between all of them, and they're stuck there. I think they got the short straw. But they're required, if they're in a foreign land, to be a military occupation because it's traditional. They do ceremonies. I'm assuming they do changing of the guards with the penguins and the whole bit. But I think they gave up on it. But anyway, here we go. Admiral Richard E. Byrd's invasion of Antarctica. 3 naval battle groups. 4,000 military troops from Norfolk, Virginia in 1947. Or was it the 2nd of December, 1946? Or was it from August 26, 1946 to February 1947? And then there's a statement about he looked out at the sky on this particular month and saw something when it would be impossible because of whether or not the sun was visible. Really stupid mistakes like that in this story. The USS Pine Island is mentioned. It was struck from the Naval Register on an unknown date. Her title was transferred to the Maritime Administration for layup in National Defense Reserve Fleet. On an unknown date, the ship's final disposition is unknown. It's all cover-up, except that it was delivered to Portland, Oregon in 1972, March 7th, to Zedell Explorations, which is now Zedell Maritime. And they have records of it. And you can talk to them over coffee if you want to, because a bunch of people work there. And go to the same coffee shop I did. And what a dumb thing. Anyway, next. I don't know if this is actually true. But then again, some of the other people who go to the coffee shop are the ones who clued me in on the Razor trains from Half-Life. They're based on the FEMA trains, which are really car carrier trains that were manufactured in Portland, Oregon. I was going to interview a couple of guys who welded those things. I really am having a load of fun with the fact that Portland is a port town. It's just small enough that people get to work various jobs because they're talented or something. Then again, I could be blowing smoke up your butt. Anyway, what happened to the USS Pine Island? Well, okay. According to, now this is an assertion, it was sold for $166,000 and 66 cents. Zedell paid for it, which would be typical in 1971. Pine Island was towed to Bremerton to be stripped out by the Navy, which was also not uncommon for the ship to be scrapped. The fact that she nor other AVs, I don't know what AV is. Yes, I'm cutting and pasting someone else's work. I'm mixing and matching here. Then again, I could be lying completely. You should check the links below. It's not listed in the Naval Register. That's strange, right? No, it happens all the time. People stop Why register something if it's not going to be afloat? The register is for ships afloat. If a ship has been dismantled, making an error of not knowing where it went, they don't care. They might be happy that you give them the information, but it's just a cross-reference so that you know where the boats went. Also, boats change names all the time. Sometimes they don't carry any registration back and forth, so you get two boats that look the same. One's missing, one's right here. Probably the same boat. But, here, we'll go on with this. Should you want to be nice, you can email the nice folks at the NVR today. They would probably thank you for pointing out that the omission and add it to the missing ships, which of course will be interpreted as covering up the cover-up. Anyway, okay, now let's review. Claims about Admiral Byrd. You'll see very flowery explanations about him. When were those posted? Right after he died, so that he couldn't tell people they were lying about him. People wait till someone famous dies before they make up BS stories about them. Next, the statements made about it were made by people who didn't look up whether or not at that point it was light or dark at the South freaking Pole. Because that's significant, because of the descriptions that were made. I've done a video about that, I'll go dig it up. Next. There's the ship that was struck from the record, except it wasn't, and it was brought here. I'm serious. Would someone please do a conspiracy theory about the Rose Parade? Because I'm here. Might as well just complete my day. I mean, really, Anyway, look up Operation Fishbowl and High Jump. The Argentine Antarctica Permanent Occupation Force. Little America Exploration Base, and a few others. And the thing is, if you're going to respond to this video, this is 2 stub videos. I might actually do full videos on these, if I really want to. You have to stay on topic. It has to be about what I have discussed, not what you want to throw. This isn't throwing monkey poop at somebody because you've run out of rocks. Okay? You have to stick with the same rock. My rock. You have to stick with the rocks in this. I'm going to review this. The Blue Star Kachina Prophecy by Frank Waters, Bob Frissell, Chief Whitefeather, and another person, what was his name? Benjamin Lee Whorf, and his assertions about a language saying that they don't have any concept of time. But some cultures have 14 different names for snow. Actually, no, they don't. They have fewer names for snow than we do. No, I'm not kidding. That's a lot. It's called a snow clone. But anyway, here we go. You can also contact the Hopi Nation and ask them flat out. I'd like you to do that, because then they'll put it in the fact and say, no, we have nothing to do with this. This is some white man invention about a Indian chief. Next. The mysterious missing ship called the USS Pine Island didn't get disappeared or mysterious or anything. From 1947 till 1971, it was still floating around and doing stuff. There might even be a registry where it went, and it was brought here, apparently, and then scrapped in another location. Next, Admiral Byrd did not describe any of these things until after he was dead, because then he can't defend his memory and his name. Same thing was done to Tesla, by the way. Same thing's been done to everybody else that people quote. If I die tomorrow, people will attribute all sorts of crap to me. That's the sign of it. Nobody discovers your diary after you die. They don't. Because they don't. This is bull crap. Because if they did, they'd show you the damn thing. I mean, really, come on, this is obvious. And as for the military from Norfolk, Virginia, but it was somehow 3 battle groups, etc., you can look up the actual listing for it. The actual occurrence was much more interesting. And again, the time of year was wrong for the stories that are told. And again, everybody waited until the guy died. And yes, someone will immediately ignore everything I've said. Well, what about this? No. Acknowledge my points or refute them. Period. Don't weasel. That's why it's so easy. And the thing is, now I'm going to guarantee everybody, besides the coffee shop joke, no, seriously, welders talk a lot. What in here did I get wrong on purpose or by mistake? Double check me. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that.